Welcome to Mindset Matters. Today I have a very interesting episode because I've been thinking about this for a long time. If you want to be happy, I'm going to tell you why you'll never be happy if you don't do this very important thing. Let's say you've been just feeling really miserable for a lot of your life and you're wondering why you can't get happy. And you look up a lot of videos and they say, it's all about your mindset. You gotta hang around with, positive people. It's all about how you react to situations. Wrong. That's to me, that is the most useful information if you don't do this one thing first. Let's say if you are in a situation where you're with someone, you have to deal with people who are kind of making your life a little bit miserable. Maybe they're putting you down. Maybe they're just not treating you very nicely. Maybe you have to deal with people's tempers. Maybe you have to deal with people's negativity. Maybe it's your own family members. Maybe it's work. Maybe it's someone that's very close to you that is just very toxic and they're putting you down and they're making you feel really, let's say that you just can't share how you feel. Maybe it's a work situation where you are not allowed to express your feelings and people can just say whatever they want to say to you and you can't get out of it. Let's say if you're in that kind of situation, I'll give you an example. A long time ago when I was a teenager, I was working at a job where it's funny because I started off enjoying it a bit. I didn't think that jobs were really horrible. I just thought, okay, I'll just try this. I was very open-minded. I never had this bias that, I hated working for other people. I was really, really happy to try anything. I did a lot of different work. I tried a lot of different work. When I was in the 8th grade, my first ever job was a checkout chick. That's what they call them back then. I was a checkout chick and I was working behind the counter and I was checking out people's shopping. And most of it was okay. What I felt was what was really, really making me miserable wasn't so much what I had to do or that it was boring. It was dealing with people. It was dealing with people who were not happy. Some work, you just have to deal with those type of people a bit more than others, like retail, for example. Retail, because you have to deal with a lot of angry people because people don't come in all the time feeling happy, right? You have some people, I was very lucky that I didn't even get a lot of really nasty people coming in. I feel like these days there might be, I don't know. I really don't know because I haven't worked a retail job in a while. But back then I remember the first time I really got something that made me feel really uncomfortable was this lady who came in and she was really pissed off because, I don't know, someone overcharged her and she wanted a refund, but she was kind of really angry about it. But I just did it, whatever. But what I found was that I was never able to kind of stand up for myself because I felt like I was being yelled at for something, but I felt like I wasn't allowed to defend myself. And that's when I felt like I got that negative feeling. That was the first time in my life I started feeling that negative little horrible feeling in my stomach when I went to work. And that's when I discovered something really important. And that is our bodies are trying to tell us something. And throughout my life, I've been kind of in and out of situations where I've had to deal with people who sometimes would say things that makes me feel like I'm really, really crap. So what I've discovered is whenever that happened, I would get this extremely, extremely powerful feeling that comes from my stomach that is screaming at me. It presents itself as so many different things like depression, anxiety attacks. It presents itself as just a pit feeling in the stomach that feels so dark and it really does feel like it's this negative pit feeling. I'm pretty sure if you've ever experienced it, you know what I'm talking about. It just feels like your stomach is almost in pain, but not in a physical pain, like you've eaten something bad. It's in a grief type of pain. I'm sure you've had something like that where your stomach just feels so in pain and then you're I just want to get rid of it. That was the first time I really discovered it. And what I noticed from then on was that every single time, there's also instances where I was kind of accused for stealing money or something, but where I didn't. Like, I don't know where the money went. I'd made a lot of mistakes during the early years, but it was more like when they spoke to me really sternly and like stuff. So I remember just feeling so stressed out about those situations. That was like the first job I ever had, and I was around 13 years old at the time. What I distinctly remember from that experience is that about 3 or 4 days before the shift even was beginning, because at the time I think I was just not interested and they could tell. So they gave me like one shift a week, like only 3 hours, one shift a week. But I remember so clearly a few days before that shift even happened, I started feeling really, really depressed. Like depressed as in I just didn't feel like doing anything. Nothing seemed fun. Everything was just, I was dreading everything. I didn't want to even go out to have fun because I felt like, what's the point? I just remember feeling so negative, even 2 or 3 or 4 days before that shift started. And as it came closer, I got more stressed out. So by the time it was like the day before, I literally was just completely like feeling like just really, 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 how do I explain it? It's like you don't want to do anything. You don't want to go anywhere. You just want to kind of just deal with that stress, and nothing seemed to take your mind off it. You could just be lying in bed and just trying to forget about it, but it doesn't work and you just don't know what to do. And you kind of almost feel like, what is even the point in life if I have to just go through this every single day? I remember feeling that way. So and then I have the shift, right? And then everything just goes by and I stress and then I have that shift and it's only 3 hours. It's not that long. And then maybe the day after I feel relieved in some ways because it's just finished. And then the cycle begins. The next week it starts again and then it starts again. And eventually what I found was, instead of dreading it 2 or 3 days before, I started dreading the week before. And then it started getting worse and worse the longer I was there. So eventually what happened was I was never available when they asked me to come in for to fill in somebody, because I just hated the idea of giving up what I wanted to do. So I always said I'm sorry, I couldn't come in. So I think they just eventually wrote me off the roster, which is really good in a way, because then I kind of just quit after not getting any shifts for 3 weeks. I just said, okay, I'll quit. I also moved houses at the time. So, and during that time, I couldn't believe how happy I was to be at school, because during that time, I was always been very lucky that my school environment was very positive, and I had very, very nice teachers who treated me very well. And I just remember how happy I felt to be at that school, to be with the people who really appreciated me, who actually just said nice things about me. I just remember how much I loved being there. I really loved it. And I understand not everyone has that positive experience, but I was very lucky to be in a good school, because that's what I experienced, was that the teachers were really positive and they were very encouraging. That's what I remember. And I just remember feeling this happiness, this joy to be there. And then every time I had to just think about the other stuff, I would just feel so depressed. And then all this will come to make sense, trust me. So, and then after that, I did another job. My friend kind of talked me into this job. She's like, I'm making a lot of money. Come with me this afternoon. We're going to check it out. So I went with her thinking this was naive me, thinking every job was going to be really fun. And I was so looking forward to making money, right? I went with her and I discovered that her job that made a lot of money was a call center job where you're trying to sell people phone services. So we went into the office, which was just this guy's house. I think it was just this guy's house. And he goes, you have a long list of phone numbers you have to call. And until it's like a 3 or 4 hour shift, and you just call every single number you can. If people are not home, you move on to the next one or whatever, or try calling back in half an hour or whatever. So I got a giant list of phone numbers. It was every freaking phone number in the city or something. So I start calling, and then he also gave me a sheet of paper and said, this is a questionnaire. It's called a questionnaire. It's the first time I ever heard of that. And you have to get as much detail as you can out of these people as possible. So ask them about their phone services. What do they use now? Are they using this or that? How much do they pay per month? Or just very intimate questions about people's phone services. You know, it's kind of like, you know, it's not something that normally people would be too happy to give out just randomly to some random stranger on the phone. So, and I think these days, if you try to do that, you'd get a lot worse responses because people are sick of that. But anyway, back in the day, it was not even as bad as now. So I got this piece of paper, I called, and my friend was in like next to me and she was calling. I'm pretty sure we were in different rooms because I'm pretty sure it would be very hard for us to talk together at the same time trying to get the same thing. But it was miserable. Like that job really, really took my anxiety to a new level, because you can imagine just trying to call someone up and you're saying, hi, this is like so-and-so for this whatever company. I'd love to ask, you know, if you have any time to answer a few questions. And, you know, you get some people who are really nice. I am so thankful for. There were actually quite a lot of nice people out there who would just be willing to answer whatever. You know, like, bless them. They're the kindest people in the world who just were happy to do that. There are also people who just wasn't interested. They'll hang up, and that's fine. I actually enjoyed that. When they hung up, you know, okay, they're not interested. You're not going to even, like, bother with calling them back because they're not interested. And then there were the people who really just kind of wanted to rant, and they'll just tell you about their life and everything, and that was fine too. But the worst thing was, like, I would say this made up like 35 to 40% of people. There were like really angry people who literally will like start yelling at you about ruining their day because they're so annoyed that someone's calling them up, and it's not even, you know, it's not your fault, it's not their fault, it's the stupid phone company's fault. I think is like, who does kind of this kind of stuff to just call people? But anyway, that's not really even relevant. But they're just angry and you're interrupting their day. So they're like, you know what they're gonna say? They're gonna say, you know, I don't like people like you. You know, you're really, really like rude to just call up and ask personal questions. Who do you think you are? Like, you know, you people are so annoying. They'll be really they will be really, really rude to you, and they'll be very angry, or they'll use very angry tones. They'll put you down, they'll do whatever. And when I experienced that a few times, I started dreading people in general. I started fearing people, and I still remember that feeling like it was yesterday. I went on a public transport, and usually when I go on it, I'm doing my own thing, I'm happy. But during that time when I was working there, I went on public transport, and I started to see every single person sitting on a train or a bus as extremely angry people who will yell at me. I just started seeing every person as angry people who would yell at me. As soon as I called anyone, even friends, I would imagine them yelling at me. As soon as I spoke to someone spoke to someone out on public, I would imagine that they would be angry and they yell at me. I would literally just start imagining the whole entire damn world as angry people who were yelling at me. And it's like my brain is starting to become traumatized by this experience. I could tell, because suddenly I was afraid of people. I was afraid of everyone. And I saw everyone, like, in public as someone who would be yelling at me because they're angry. Like, my brain was really overdrive in terms of stress and trying to prevent me from being in that kind of environment. And during that time, guess what? I was not happy at all. I was just really miserable. I had to do that job like every other day or something during that time, and I was so unhappy. But the ironic thing is I did very well compared to a lot of other workers, because he said to me, like, I did so much. I got 12 out of 10. Like, usually the average is 7 questionnaires answered. I got like 12 at my best and 10 usually, which is higher than normal, and he was really happy with me. But it got to a point where I just felt so stressed. Like, I would be like just craving to go to school, because I was still at that school at the time. But like after school I had to go there. And you know what happened also, which is really weird, that has never really happened to me before? When I got to that, like, because that was a particular train station that I had to get to, right? And then I had to walk past these Toyota car places to get to his house. I hated the station that was associated with this company. The guy who ran, he even worked, I just worked for the company. I started dreading that whole area that I had to walk. I hated that area. I hated the station. And even today, when I hear it, I still cringe at the thought of it because it reminds me of that work experience. That's how much my brain will remember a horrible experience. And it's a horrible experience because people were treating me really, really angrily. And that made me realize one thing very important, and that is we're wired to survive. Our brains are wired to survive. We want to feel safe. When there are people who are being really angry at us, our brain doesn't know, though, they're just doing that because it's on the phone. We can't just turn that part of it off and say, oh, it's fine. It's just for the job. You're not really in danger. In our mind, it's all danger. And we're stressed because we feel like we're literally in danger. We're given the stress response. We're given anxiety. We're given depression. We're giving all these different signals from our body and our mind together, working together, tell us, hey, you're in an unsafe environment. That's what it thinks anyway. You're in an unsafe environment. Get the fuck out of there. Like, otherwise, you're not going to even survive, is what my body is trying to tell me. So why do you think that if I continue working there, I would be unhappy? Because my brain would still be telling me, hey, you're unsafe. It's not able to switch off. Honestly, if we could switch off and we could just not be stressed, we would all be pressing the button and we'd not be stressed about anything and we'd just love whatever we want. Believe me. So that really, really made me realize something so important. That is, our brains and bodies are designed to help us realize when we're in an unsafe situation. It can't differentiate too much at the moment because I think it's because we just came from the cave time, and cave time is when we get chased by animals or whatever, wild beasts, and our body can't tell the difference between a stress work related stress versus we're going to actually get killed. So that's why it's giving us these stress responses. So if you're living with someone who's constantly putting you down, who's just not very nice at all, who's maybe just has it bad, like who yells at you or just does things that make you feel bad, you're going to feel the same way. And unfortunately, some people may even have been stuck in a family like that who will take out their anger on you, maybe. Like, not all the time, maybe sometimes. Maybe you have parents who just don't know how to encourage you in the way because of the way they're brought up. A lot of times parents, unfortunately, it's very unfortunate because sometimes it's like they want to be different, but because they're brought up in a certain way, they will just keep that going. And they find it very hard, especially for Asian parents. A lot of times they do find it very hard to express their emotions and express their love. They will do things that seem like they care about you, but they won't ever tell you they care about you. They will just like feed you very well, or, you know, make sure you study well. That's like their way of showing that they care. At least that was in my experience a lot of times. And I know a lot of other people who had parents in the same similar kind of situation will have like that kind of experience. So growing up, I just remember like feeling like every time someone was angry at me, someone would yell at me or something, I get into this huge stress response. And then I just feel so miserable and unhappy. And it's all to do with dealing with other people's anger and feeling like I'm like under their control in some ways, and that I can't break free from their control, or I can't defend myself the way that I feel like I need to. All of those situations is what really causes my body to go into that extreme unhappy mode. So that mode will make me feel like I'm miserable. I get panic attacks, I get anxiety, and sometimes it will come in different forms and ways that you don't even know at all like what that is about. Because sometimes you'll just be eating and you'll be doing your thing and suddenly you feel a huge panic attack. And it's going to come so randomly, you won't even know what the hell happened, because you'll just suddenly feel like your heart is racing. You feel sick. You're going to be sick soon. You're queasy. You're sick. And what is going on? Maybe you think that, oh my God, am I actually dying from some illness or what? Like, you might even not know what this is about, because I experienced that too when I was in my teenage years, when I had to first go to a new school where I didn't know anybody. I was so stressed out that was what triggered my first ever panic attack and anxiety, which caused a lot of nausea at the time, which I felt sick, like I was going to be sick every day. And honestly, I just thought I was going crazy at the time because I didn't understand it. But now I do. Like, my body was in fight or flight. It thought I was in danger because I didn't know anyone, and I was always afraid of new people, new environment, because I wasn't sure that I was safe. I was pulled from what I thought was very safe environment to a brand new environment, which I wasn't sure if I was safe or not. And my brain and body just started to rebel and say, like, hey, you may be unsafe. Let's prepare you for a fight or something. You need to empty out all the food. So suddenly I felt queasy all the time, like every single day at the same time every day. I felt really nauseous. I felt like I was going to be sick. And I thought I was severely ill, like I was actually getting some kind of terminal illness or something. I really thought that, because at the same time every day I would feel the queasiness, and it just lasts for about an hour or two, and I felt so sick during that time. It took all my energy to get that sickness out of my stomach. I just had to focus on everything else, and eventually it did go away. And then sometimes it wouldn't come back for another day, or it could just come back late in the afternoon. And then gradually what happened was I developed this fear of eating, because every single time where someone said, oh, it's dinner time, I felt like, oh, I was pressured to eat. And then suddenly I couldn't even eat properly, and I was terrified of food, and I was so scared. I would just start panicking as soon as dinner was called, and I would just be in a panic, and that triggered an anxiety panic attack to the point where I had to tell my parents, please don't call me for food. Just say I could eat whenever I want. And then that really helped, because I was feeling so pressured. I was starting to fear the fear itself. And that was the worst of the worst, when the cycle just comes down to when you just start fearing fear itself. Like, you don't even know whether you have anxiety because you're fearing the anxiety itself or of the situation. That is what it comes down to sometimes. And if you're in that situation, how is anyone going to be happy, right? So instead of doing all this stuff, I know there's a lot of people with a very, very good intentions, and I really do appreciate that they try to do that. But I guess they may not have been in a situation that is that desperate, that to say that, oh, in order to feel happy, we need to think positive, or we need to react. The one that I hear the most is, I remember reading these quotes on Instagram all the time back in the day, when they had these inspirational quotes. It was like, it's not what situation what situation you are in, it's how you react to them. I think that is one of the worst advices that anyone could ever give, because you could be actually in a horrible situation, and if you just ignore your body and say, whatever, I need to just deal better with it, you're literally allowing yourself to be abused in some ways, if you're not careful and you don't know what's going on. So that is a very, very horrible thing, advice to give, because you don't, everyone's situation is different. You could be in a situation that if you just get out of that situation, if you get out of those negative people's, if you just allow yourself to free yourself from those horrible negative people who are putting you down, who are making you feel miserable, you will just instantly feel better. Your body will just instantly feel free and happy. That's what I've realized, is that every single time I've gotten out of those situations, I feel much better. It's like, I still get PTSD over things, but I feel so much better. It's like, oh my God, now I'm actually free from it. Now I can actually start improving my mental health. Now I can start feeling happier. Now I can actually do things that help, because during that time, I'll tell you, I can play all the fun games in the world and it won't help much with my mental health, because I'm in that horrible situation. If I'm in that horrible situation, no matter how much distressing activities I do, no matter how much things that I how much calming motivation videos I watch or whatever it is, unless they help me take action, no matter how much I do, self-care days, whatever, they're not going to do a thing until you get out of that horrible situation that you're in. So before you even think about, oh, what am I doing? What can I do to make myself feel less stressed, or, less, just feel happier and stuff, you got to look at the situation you're in. And you have to work towards getting out of a horrible situation if you're in one. And you have to be able to not ignore your body and tell yourself, oh, it's fine, I'm just overreacting, I need to just put up with this crap. Don't do that. please listen to yourself. Your body knows best of what is best for you. If you have very toxic people in your life and you're just dealing with it and you're just letting them walk all over you and you're just dealing with that crap and you're just allowing them to say whatever they want to you, you're in a work situation where they just take advantage of you or just do whatever and not give you a voice to, speak out, then of course you're going to feel miserable. So it's so important to get yourself out of that situation. And I know it's not easy because we live in a shit place sometimes where we can't survive without money, and of course when we have no money we can't stay anywhere and we can't do anything. So that sucks in some ways, that we are dependent so much on money, and in order to make money sometimes we have to be in a miserable situation. But at least just be aware of it and work towards it. That's the best thing I can really suggest, is just knowing, okay, this is a goal I need to work towards. I need to get out of that horrible situation. No matter how hard it takes, should be the number one thing that you work towards. Because I truly think that a lot of times we are so, we're so ignorant of our own bodies or what we're trying to tell ourselves. Like, we're miserable and depressed and unhappy for a good damn reason, and we're just saying, oh, you know what, or just ignore it, like, let's just keep doing the shit that we hate. And I know it's hard. I know not everyone is in a situation where they just leave their job or leave their family and stuff. I understand that. I do, because I was once in that situation where I couldn't just leave. But I had to think about how I can work towards it. At least I had to really think, okay, this is the plan. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to try doing this. I'm going to at least try to do something, like maybe work in a place or work hard, or do something on the side that works towards something that could work out in the future. So that's why I am so into my creative works, my YouTube channel and everything, because I know that is my biggest motivation, is just be able to not have to deal with people who are so negative and treat me whatever they want to, because I work for them. Seriously, that is one of the worst things in the world, is that because you work for someone, they have the right to treat you like crap. That is not right. And honestly, you may have even had more bad experiences than good, and it may just make you think everyone's horrible. But at the same time, I have to remember, I have a friend who is a really, 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 really nice person, and he sometimes hire people to work for him. And I just have to remember, not all bosses are crap, because there's my friend who's such a nice person, and he'll and I do remember at one stage, I actually did get paid by typing up a bunch of data entry stuff. That was really fun. So I have to remember that. You just have to find someone really, really nice. Not even all jobs are crap. It's what kind of people are there? Are they miserable? Are they just talking shit about you? Are they treating you like crap? Are you not allowed to even fight back if something was unfairly, someone treats you unfairly? Because that's very important. You should be able to fight back. You should be able to have a voice in your own, just how you're treated. I hate that thing where you're oh, just because you work in retail, you have to take everyone's crap. I hate that so much. Seriously, it's that I'm thinking of that quote in Regular Show: the customer gets what the customer wants. That thing. Yeah, that is 100% true. It's yeah. Okay, I'm just fired up, because so much times I just see oh, why is it that I'm so unhappy? Why is it that I just don't ever feel happy? Am I in the situation that is not allowing me to be happy? That's the question. Because then from all my experiences, I had another really interesting experience, which actually started off as something I enjoyed, because I remember that job started with me just working for this guy who owned some kind of insulation company thing. So he said just to go and hand flyers around the houses, and that was tough, because I had really, really bad health. And I walk around people's houses for an hour and I'm all dead, my stomach's sore, I'm giving up, and I'm oh god. So, and then there's the because he wanted me to deliver the pamphlets to people's doors and not their letterboxes. That made me really nervous, because I kept imagining people would just yell at me if they see me. So that kind of gave me a lot of stress. But it wasn't long before I upgraded the kind of job into something different, and that was he suggested I answer phone calls. And honestly, I thought that was going to be really easy in the beginning, so I was like, oh yeah, answer phone calls, how cool would that be? I'm not even have to make phone calls. And then the angry people came again because he screwed up all his meeting times, and then it's like, oh god, now I have to deal with like angry people who are mad at him, but they're taking their anger out on me. But the thing is, I know people who are able to just differentiate that, be completely fine with it, and not get affected, and that's fine. And oh my God, am I jealous of those people? Because that stress feeling is back. As soon as people get angry at me, the stress signal is back, and I'm back to feeling miserable, unhappy and stuff. But then I was able to switch what I did for the job. And I do remember during that time, I was having fun in the beginning, because it wasn't like he didn't show his, weird side until like maybe like half a year after I started working. So eventually, though, there was this part of him that was really angry, and it kind of showed. And in several situations, he got really, really just randomly angry because I did something that I didn't mean to, or that I didn't realize something. Or I think one day I changed one of the SEO things, and he hired an SEO to do something that I may have not realized it. So I did, because I did websites for him. I did websites, like designed the websites for him, and he hired this SEO to do something, but I didn't realize it. So I may have just overwrote something that the SEO person did, and he got so angry. He was like, I didn't tell you to do this, my brother. And then that was the first time I felt that stress back. That stress came back, that really, really, really intense stress. And it wasn't long before other things happened that made things just more stressful, to the point where I really started hating it again. And then I questioned myself. It's like, why do I always end up hating every job? Why is it that I can never hold on to a job properly? Because I'm always so miserable. And I realized it's because every single time it had to do with dealing with other people's anger. Like, maybe that's why some people, like, I don't know. It's like, why is it that it's so hard for people to not get angry? It's like, yeah, unfortunately, that's just something that happens in a lot of situations. And I know, like, I've had like 3 experiences. I feel like I've experienced it all, because I just get so stressed out with things like this. But it made me realize something very important. That was, I did enjoy it one stage. Before the stressful things came up, I did enjoy it. It was fun to me. I didn't hate it. I was able to go in there without too much issue, because I didn't have those like angry responses and stuff. So it made me even realize more that how much our bodies are trying to keep us safe from just people who are angry or aggressive or something like that. Because you'll find that a lot of times, have you ever, like, this is a really good example. Have you ever like met someone online, maybe like not in real life, but online, and you kind of like felt like they were like sort of maybe a friend, but you're not too sure about them, and you just feel very, ooh. But sometimes maybe you've talked to them, like, and you heard their voice, and suddenly they sound so friendly, and you just drop all that fear, and you suddenly feel like, oh my God, I just can tell them stuff now. Have you ever had that? It's the same thing. It's like we're trying to keep ourselves safe. We're not sure about someone because we don't know what they're going to be like. That's why we have our guards up. But as soon as they seem really friendly and nice, we're suddenly like, oh my God, we can feel like we can tell them anything. And then have you had that one person in your life who's never judges you, who are really, really always so nice to you, and then you feel so comfortable to share everything with? That's not for no reason, It's like our minds know who we should feel safe around, who we doesn't. So allow your body to tell you or lead you the way. Like, don't try to fight it all the time. Just know that if you're unhappy, there may be a damn good reason for it. Let's just try to find out what in your life is causing that huge amount of unhappiness, and let's try to remove that before we even try all these other techniques like to make us feel happier, because otherwise it's just impossible. You're just fighting with the biggest threat of all, and that is threat itself. Like, I can't even explain it in other words. Like, that's why I just so desperately want you to really, really think about what could possibly be causing this huge amount of stress, and what can you do to get out of it. It is that important, because you will never truly be happy when you're just sticking a band-aid over a thing. You know, it's like, how do you call that? It's like you're putting, there's a saying or something like, you're putting like a flour over cow shit or something. I don't know. I think there's a saying like that. It's basically like, you can't cover up something that is really, really like a horrible situation. You just can't cover it up. You have to actually get to the root of the problem. And that's what I really want to remind you, is that unless you do something about your situation and you get out of it in some ways, your body is not going to stop telling you that you're feeling miserable. So please take that as a huge sign. So yeah, that is the most important message that I have today. And I know it's taken me so long to realize it. And I used to be the type of person who would listen to these motivational videos and just try everything and do all the things that was suggested, like, oh, I meditate and do this, do that, do this, do that. It's like, but they don't work. It's like, why is it not working? I had to really think about that. Why wasn't it working for me? Why wasn't just meditation working? Why wasn't this working? Because I had this huge stress. At the root of the stress was this fear of dealing with people, dealing with angry people who might harm me. That's my brain thinking, not me. Like, it's just like your brain will not be able to tell if you're in a dangerous situation or not, because if it detects threat by other people, how they treat you. So if they treat you angrily, unfairly, you're going to feel that stress. That's just how we're made. That's just how we're born. A lot of people may have even more stress response than others because of trauma we've gone through when we were a child. Sometimes, maybe. If you've been through very traumatic situations when you're a child, you might find that it is even harder to deal with stressful situations. And you might find that as soon as you feel like there's any kind of negative thing, you just want to run away. And that's very normal, because you went through trauma, and that's just how your body has developed. It's how it responds to that. It's trying to keep you safe. Just remember that. It's really just trying to do its job. So don't just kick it away and say, oh, you don't know any better. Like, that's what I think a lot of times we end up doing, because it's like, oh, I just want to be happy. Like, screw you, your stress response, just go away. So we do all the stuff, but we don't actually tackle the root of the problem. And that can be a huge problem itself if we don't realize that it's the situation we're in that's causing our misery. And that if we can just get out of that situation in any way, or if we can distance ourselves from that person or whatever situation, that job or whatever, maybe we'll just immediately feel that relief. Now the question is, how do we do that without like losing the place we live, without losing everything? That's its own other thing that I wish I knew the answer to. Honestly, I really wish I could just say, hey, here's the solution. Like, you know, I wish I could do that, but unfortunately I don't have all the answers. But just know that your body will know you better than what you even think. So it sounds so crazy if you hear that, but just don't ignore all the unhappiness it's trying to give you, because it's telling you that you're in not a very good situation. So, and then you might just find that the day that you get out of that situation, wow, what is that crazy relief feeling? I'm actually happy. Oh, I can actually work towards happiness now. Like, I'm not, this giant boulder or rock isn't in my stomach anymore, is what you might just suddenly find. So anyway, I really hope, I just accidentally knocked the microphone. Hopefully that didn't make too much noise. But I hope you take care of yourself. It's always so important for you to take care of yourself, and just take it easy. Take care of yourself. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I know. It's like, yep. And I will speak to you soon. I'll come up with another episode sometime. So I'll chat to you soon.